Hello, people. I hope you're having a lovely day. So, today I'd like to talk about flying cars, specifically the Model A by Alef Aeronautics. So, Alef Aeronautics is this company that was founded in 2015 in San Mateo, California. It's a private company. And the purpose of this company was to design, build, and mass produce a flying car that is to have vertical landing and takeoff capability. Now, the reason this is in the news lately, because sometime in June, the Federal Aviation Administration gave them, I guess, a certification that will allow them to test this thing. Uh, okay. So far, well, initially it's going to sell for $300,000 each. And so far it's got, I think, 2,500 pre-orders. So it's already got $750 million of pre-orders. So some stats about the thing. I don't know the range of it, but I know that it's supposed to be, actually I do know the range of it. I don't know the top speed in the air, but I know that on the ground it's supposed to have a range of 200 miles, and in the air it's supposed to have a range of 110 miles. And it's going to be, I guess the word is certified as a low-speed vehicle because it's only supposed to go on the ground, I think, a top speed of 25 miles per hour. So it's vertical landing and takeoff. So the purpose of it moving on the ground is to basically get in a position where it would be best to vertical take off. So imagine you have this in your garage and you pull it out, and let's say you drive it in a spot in the road or whatever where you're away from wires. Or I don't know. I guess you can, are you flying this thing from your house? I'm not quite sure about that. So the interesting thing with this is that even though it's a vertical landing and takeoff, it's a fixed wing. It's a fixed wing plane. So fixed wing as opposed to rotary wing, like a helicopter is a rotary wing. Fixed wing is supposed to be like a fixed wing biplane. And the way this thing's supposed to go is it goes up, it kind of rotates, and the passenger component rotates with it, and the wings come out. And the wings are independent of one another, and the movement of the wings is supposed to steer it. There you go. So it makes me think of the Osprey and how the Osprey uses the rotors to go up, and then it kind of levels off. The Osprey, I think it's the V22. I think it's the V22 Osprey that the Marines use. If it's not V22, my mistake. Whatever. I'm going to kind of get back to that. So I am a bit skeptical on this, and I'll tell you why. So have you heard of a guy named Paul Mahler, Dr. Paul Mahler? So Dr. Paul Mahler is this engineer who started this company in 1972 called Supertrap that built this really effective muffler system for internal combustion motors. And he sold the company, and then with the money that he got from selling his company Supertrap, he pursued his dream of building and producing a flying car. So he tested his first prototype, I think it was the M150 in 1988. And by 2002, he had built, I believe it was the M400. I think it was 2002. So some specs on the M400, it was, well, the 400 meant that it could carry 4 passengers. It had a cruising speed of 131 miles per hour. It could go a range at that speed of a little over 800 miles, but it had a top speed of about 320 miles. And it ran on ethanol. And I don't know if I already mentioned this, but it was also vertical landing and takeoff. So he built this thing, I think like in 2002, right? I'll show you pictures of it. So now the question is, why have you never seen this thing? Because it never actually worked. It was vaporware, something that was promised and promised but never came to fruition. In fact, after working on this thing for 50 years and over $100 million in investment, it never came into fruition. In fact, even after he built this thing, he claimed, like, yes, we have the M400, and next we're going to have the variants, the M200 and the M100, which will hold 2 passengers and 1 passenger respectively. So I believe eventually, and maybe I'm getting the years in which the M400 was built mixed up with this, but I think it was in either 2002 or 2003, the Security and Exchange Commission actually sued Paul Mahler. I think he had to pay close to $60,000 in fines. Now, the thing about it is, first of all, Paul Mahler was not some crazy crank in his garage. He had a PhD in engineering. He actually graduated from McGill University, pretty good school. And he was actually an engineering professor at University of California, Davis. So it wasn't like he was some scam artist or anything like that. He was a legit engineer. And it seems like the goal, or maybe what the Mahler flying car was trying to achieve, is a lower bar than what the Model A is trying to do. This whole thing of being a vertical landing and takeoff with a fixed wing component. Matter of fact, I bring up the Osprey because if you guys don't remember, the Osprey, let's just say it had a lot of problems. So many accidents came from this thing that there's actually a Wikipedia page dedicated to Osprey accidents. So when you're trying to go from this vertical landing and takeoff component to fixed wing component, seems to be a problem with that. Now, of course, the Model A won't work the same way, but come on, you're going to have complications. Now, maybe I could be very well wrong with this, but let's just say, like I said, I'm skeptical and I'm keeping my hopes. I'm not very hopeful on it. I think that the benefit of them getting this certification from the FAA and letting everybody know about it is that it's going to drum up investment. Now, I'm not saying that this company is trying to scam people, but if you're an investor, I would say beware of this. That's just my opinion. Now, once again, if you are an engineer, especially if you're an aeronautical engineer, aerospace engineer, leave a comment. Even if you're up on this story, maybe even if you can, like, leave a point of contact. I love for you to explain to me why this thing is possible. Maybe in the past 2 decades, technology or whatever has improved in this regard. It seems to be a physics problem, and I don't know if handling such physics problems have really changed much in the past 2 decades. Once again, I'm not an engineer. I'm a mathematician. I don't know much about engineering, so stay in my lane. But one thing I also say is that I kind of wish that we would quit trying to revolutionize transportation when we already have great technology as is, but we just need to expand it. So instead of trying to dig holes in the ground for individual vehicles or trying to, make better flying devices, I wish that we would invest or have our interests more along the lines of trains and mass transportation, high-speed rail. More things flying through the air. I mean, okay, whether they're helicopters or flying cars, I really don't think that's going to be much of a benefit. But like I said, 2,500 people are already interested in this thing, and I guess if you can afford it, get it. But like I said, for the 3rd, 4th time, I'll say it again, I'm skeptical. And regardless, I'll probably never find the thing, even if it does work. But I'm putting this video up, so if it's successful, well, I guess I've been showed a thing or two.